Summer 2023, specifically July 21st. You couldn't escape it. Pink, girlhood, Barbie. And Oppenheimer was there too. The sensation that radiated through my body upon watching Barbie for the first time was immediately indescribable. Upon second, third, and fourth viewings, this feeling, so sudden, so new, became clearer. Watching the credits roll on the big screen left me with a sense of awe, euphoria, and adoration. The power of Greta Gerwig's filmmaking combined with Billie Eilish's songwriting would leave me in a puddle of my own tears every time the house lights would come back on. I was enchanted by the craft of movie making and the indomitable skill of Gerwig. Totally blissed out, head to toe in pink. All I could think to myself was, she did it. Greta Gerwig made an instant classic that was funny, heartwarming, and immediately elevated into the canon of sleepover movies. She was able to create a movie that is both a historic, you had to be there, theater-going experience, and a staple rental of slumber parties for generations to come. The release of Barbie got me reminiscing and feeling nostalgic for all the sleepover movies from my childhood, and I realized how some of my happiest memories of my adolescence were sleepovers in general. From there, I was determined to establish my, meaning unique to me, official pantheon of sleepover flicks are. A little under 2 years and a whole brat summer later, I have established my list and developed what I like to call the anatomy of a sleepover movie. And I watched these 30 movies across the last month that I believe contribute to this essence, this anatomy. The films on this list can fit into 2 or more categories, and I think Barbie fits all of them. Disclaimer, this is not an all-encompassing list, just a dissection of a small control group. I intentionally left out horror movies and outliers like Forrest Gump and Jaws. I don't know, man. We were out here watching Forrest Gump a lot at sleepovers. With that being said, here's my list. Mamma Mia, Clueless, Grease, Chicago, Mean Girls, Dreamgirls, Aquamarine, Heathers, Freaky Friday, Sleepover, Bring It On, Pitch Perfect, Uptown Girls, 13 Going on 30, My Girl, Wizard of Oz, The Lizzie McGuire Movie, Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen, High School Musical, The Notebook, Bratz, 10 Things I Hate About You, Hairspray, The Princess Diaries 2, Royal Engagement, Cinderella Story, Dirty Dancing, Bridge to Terabithia, Perks of Being a Wallflower, 17 Again, and Another Cinderella Story. I won't be discussing them all in this video. Movies like Bring It On, Uptown Girls may be getting their own videos. I have so many thoughts. But this is to give you an idea of where I was pulling from when developing my criteria. So without further ado, the 4 pillars of what it means to be a sleepover movie are sisterhood/ensemble cast, to project and find yourself. Music, to build camaraderie and lead to dance routines. Romance, to facilitate talks of crushes. And drama, for sharing feelings and trauma dumping. Pillar 1, sisterhood and ensemble cast. I'm sure you're familiar with the universal experience of watching a movie and walking away from it a changed person, complete with a whole new personality to test drive. Before the widely known format of tag yourself memes, there was, okay, who's who? And the sound of that would cause any young person who's figuring out who they are in the world to tune in. The self-castability of characters was essential when it came to picking any movie. It set the tone for the night, it established the dynamics, the hierarchy, the person that I could pretend to be until my mom picked me up in the morning. Nobody would ever get truly method with it, and you usually ended up being cast close to your personality anyway. But it was exciting to feel like you had a vessel to project onto for the next 12 or so hours. An adult or an older teen you aspire to be like, acting in ways you couldn't or you wish you could. You weren't necessarily getting up and acting these scenes, that's more for pillar 2, but exploring your potential and experiencing insight to how you're perceived by others, for better or for worse. This could lead to reflection, whether that be independently or as a unit. Why do you relate to Frenchie more than the other pink ladies? Really? You identify as Heather Duke, but you're such a Veronica. Or maybe regardless of who's who, by watching Aquamarine, you would realize how strong the bonds between you and your friends are, and that platonic love is just as true as romantic love, if not more. Aquamarine tangent, I was so overwhelmed with emotion while watching that movie. It influenced my life and how I create art more than I realized. The two girls, Jojo and Emma Rhombus, the two main girls, Jojo and Emma Roberts, are just so young in that movie. It truly felt like watching me and my friends on screen, especially with their methods of researching boys without actually talking to them, and using teen magazines to validate your feelings and perceived boys' behavior. Truly an instance if it was art imitating life or life imitating art. I can't remember if my friends and I read magazines before this movie or because of this movie. All I can remember is that there were always magazines and there was always Aquamarine. A film from when I was a little older that also reflects this pillar is 10 Things I Hate About You. To understand me on a molecular level is to watch this movie. Polar opposite sisters in high school, Bianca and Kat Stratford, have a strict father who enforces a rule that the latter can't date until the former does, and high school hijinks ensue. Kat Stratford was aspirational. I was a loud, annoying feminist, and I used words that I didn't know the definition of but sounded cool because of Julia Stiles in this movie. I hope that when I'm at my fullest power, that my copy of the bell jar will swell to the size of hers. I mean, look at this thing. So the cast is just stacked. Gabrielle Union, Heath Ledger, JGL, Allison Janney, Bernard from the Santa Claus. Everybody earned that paycheck, that's all I'm saying. I could feel my brain rewiring throughout this movie, and then ding, I was done cooking by the time Julia Stiles finished reading her poem at the end of the movie.
Like I actually had, like, my body had a reaction with those 10.
I don't need to know about that. You keep that to yourself.
Pillar 2, music. As a self-proclaimed theater kid, musicals and soundtracks were my bread and butter. Where were you January 20th, 2006? Because I can tell you right now that my butt was parked in front of the TV to watch the world premiere of High School Musical. And that movie blew my socks off. Knocked my socks off, blew me away, any combination, all of the above. I remember turning to my brother during a commercial break, absolutely stunned, and asking, has anyone done this before? Which, one, what a cute thing to say. And two, like, yes and no. High School Musical is basically Grease, which is basically West Side Story, which is basically Romeo and Juliet. But I had also yet to live through such a pop culture surge like High School Musical became. I remember walking into school Monday morning, and anybody who's anybody had seen it, so none of the boys. High School Musical was a staple of sleepovers for the next 3 years, it felt like, especially since they released DVDs that included a sing-along and dance-along version of the movie. Oh, looking back on it, I feel so bad for those parents who were hosting. God bless them. All that to be said, High School Musical set the foundation for my generation of millennials who watched musicals at sleepovers. From there, it evolved to the aforementioned Grease, Chicago, and the illustrious, always relevant, always that girl, Mamma Mia, the sleepover movie as far as I'm concerned. Sophie, played by Amanda Seyfried, invites 3 men that could potentially be her father to her wedding without her mother, Meryl Streep, knowing. And it takes place in Greece. There's a reason why this movie has so much staying power, and every year people aspire to have a Mamma Mia summer. The music is so fun to sing and dance to. Everyone is sun-kissed bronze and dressed effortlessly. It's essentially a 2-hour-long vision board. Also, it shows that older women can still have fun, maintain lifelong friendships, and be independent people who find love later in life. Imagine that. I'm still friends with my Rosie and Tanya. Correction, my Rosie and Donna. I'm obviously Tanya. And the only thing that is more aspirational than the movie itself is the famous rap party photos. Christine Baranski just looks like she's having the time of her life. I asked a bunch of my friends that I still talk to, and they agreed that Mamma Mia is number 1 with a bullet in terms of sleepover royalty. You know what? Throw Bring It On in there too. Like I said before, I could probably do a whole separate video and Bring It On, but the section's already running a bit long. So I'll just say musicals or movies with good soundtracks were enriching to the sleepover experience and life after. Friends would join the musical with me. Kids would find out that they went to the same dance studio just on different days. Or a group of friends would be inspired to try out for a cheer in the fall together or gymnastics. They provided confidence that helped you put yourself out there with your friends before you did it for the rest of the world. This section was going to be called Cute Boys, but come on now. Most of us were following the definition of compet to a T, and just as many of us are no longer. The summer I first watched Dirty Dancing, you could not get me to watch or listen to any other movie. Although there's a lack of 80s movies represented on this list, it made up a lot of what I watched growing up, and Dirty Dancing was among the upper crust. Dirty Dancing follows Jennifer Grey as Baby as she falls in love with bad boy dance instructor Patrick Swayze at a glorified sleepaway camp. Hold on. Okay, Wikipedia is referring to it as a vacation resort. Duh. This movie is just so dreamy, isn't it? And it's steeped in its own mythology both within and outside of the movie. There's stakes within this socialite world that Baby comes from and Johnny is employed by, as well as the absolute Joseph Campbell hero's journey that Baby has to go on in order to perform the lift by the end of the movie. On top of the mythology surrounding Jennifer Grey and Patrick Swayze having genuine contempt for each other throughout the filming of the movie, like it's just so juicy to talk about between friends. And moms also love this movie. It's the perfect storm. They can pop in, pop out. Now everybody's having fun. I could not possibly do a section about romance and not reference The Notebook. Are Noah and Allie good for each other? No. Do I care? No. I watched this movie a fair amount as a kid, but when I watched it again just recently, it hit me like a truck. I used to think my mom was silly when she would say every time she watches The Notebook, she finds a new place to cry at, but I get it. I get it now. It was perfect for facilitating talks of boys and these new romantic feelings we were developing, which is essential to sleepover culture. It's not a particularly aspirational relationship, but we didn't really care or quite know that yet. I don't think any of my friends or I had started dating at this point, so I don't know what we were thinking, sitting in a circle of our sleeping bags like, no, yeah, I'd pick Noah too. What? My friends and I had parents who were strict about dating, and this was a great way to indulge while still being obedient goody two-shoes. We could gush or complain about whatever person was our object of affection that semester or that week. Some of us were more boy crazy than others, in a safe space, which leads us to our fourth and final pillar. Despite how the last three sections have been lighthearted, the weight of being a woman and all that comes with that was always a looming factor. Especially as our teen years developed, as I said in the last section, sleepovers became sacred places. To get something off our chest, to share our grievances or even our traumas, things that you didn't know how to tell anyone else. It honestly makes me a little emotional, and not to get too tangential here, but films that fit this category also mark the beginning of the end. No more Disney movies or fantasies to escape into. We were maturing, and in this, also growing apart. Each of these pillars consists of methods in which we are brought together, but that time is also finite. One day, without realizing it, you've simply had your last sleepover with your friends. And that's okay. That's life. These relationships serve their purpose, and even if we're not friends anymore, we'll always have these memories to look back onto. Perks of Being a Wallflower sticks out in my mind as a catalyst of this. Perks of Being a Wallflower meant a lot to me as a teenager, as well as any kid who was on Tumblr from 2011 to 2016. It's about this kid named Charlie, played by Logan Lerman, going through his freshman year of high school and his complex relationship with a group of seniors. What an absolutely beautiful movie that I watch entirely differently as an adult. It's beautiful in both its story and its hazy, gauzy visual quality. It's just stunning. As an adult, I find myself being more critical of characters like Patrick and Sam, even though I still adore them, and far more empathetic of Mary Elizabeth and Charlie's sister Candace. My feelings of Succession alum Ponytail Derek remain the same, as well as Charlie. My love for Charlie is evergreen because we are the same person. This was a sleepover movie for me during high school. It came out when I was a freshman, and I feel like it facilitated a lot of difficult conversations that a lot of us didn't know how to start, let alone navigate. We all felt like odd ducks, and for my friends who were in the same grade level as me, it was our first time branching out independently and having classes and friendships with upperclassmen. And I feel like this is a movie that people have weirdly soured on and try and be smarter than, like picking apart Charlie's understanding of abuse and toxic cycles. And what I have to say to that is, that's the point of the movie, that he's learning these things. Anyway. And even though this next movie is a comedy, there's certain dramatic elements to it. Part of me hates being old enough to really understand 13 Going on 30, which follows Jenna Rank, a 13-year-old girl who wishes to skip over all the awkwardness of puberty in high school and wakes up as a successful and adequately developed version of herself at 30. I think the connective tissue, the underlying point of this movie that I didn't quite get watching as a preteen, is that this version of Jenna didn't stay true to herself. Now, that might seem obvious, but it just didn't click until watching it for the first time as an adult, that this version of Jenna that she wakes up as has still lived a life of being cutthroat and unkind and walking over people to get what she wants. And if you remove the 13-year-old wish of it all, it's a story about waking up at 30, reflecting on your life and figuring out if you like what you see in the mirror. And if you take a breath and listen to Vienna by Billy Joel about it, it's not too late to change. There may be relationships too damaged to come back from, too many bridges burned, but you can always start fresh and choose to live in a way that's more aligned with your true self and values, and that's what matters in this life. I will say that Jenna's final issue at the end of the movie is a big stinker, and I doubt it would do particularly well. But hey, at least in the end, she gets a chance to get it right. In conclusion, this is the sensation that Barbie left me with. Bet you forgot where this all started. Barbie easily and without sweat upon her brow fits the criteria of all these categories. Each time I saw Barbie in theaters, I watched it with some of my closest friends and I just wept. Overcome with emotion I couldn't put into words, and in the comfort of people I trusted most. And every time, independently from each other, my friends would hug me and say, "It's going to be okay, Barbie." I love Barbie, and I love my friends. Not to mention, as a woman in film, it was inspiring to witness in real time Greta Gerwig make a project of this scale and have it be such a massive hit. And I know that it's cool to think Barbie is lame for being seen as baby's first feminism or capitalism at its finest, but I don't know. I think that's a bit reductive to all of the hard work that all the people who made this movie put into it, and not to mention the very positive impact that Barbie had for women and young girls. And perhaps it is baby's first feminism for some viewers, and hey, that's both okay and allowed. Do you understand how brilliant of a feat it was to make everyone feel like friends again? Hi Barbie took the world by storm. It was immediate shorthand in the lexicon of the girls, gays, and theys as a warm, welcoming, or I'm an ally greeting. Nobody cared about other people dressing up as Barbie for Halloween because then it would be meta. And sure, you can be jaded and simply see the Barbies as pinkwashing or the personification of participation trophies. Or you can be a romantic optimist like myself and revel in the glory that for one summer we were bound by what makes us similar as opposed to what keeps us apart. As women and AFAB people, we are so often pit against each other, and whether we like it or not, are forced to be in competition. Barbie, and I mean this as earnestly and as saccharine as possible without being too much of a lib, brought us together and made movies feel like one big sleepover again. This has been Annie Septic, and thank you for watching.